100% of everything.
I'm too hard with those people. I'm too hard with them.
Anyway, so we're talking about the art of war, like he just pulled it out there. Because he says the supreme art of warfare is to win without fighting. You can look at it in different ways. You could say make your enemy surrender, but it's to break the enemy's will so that they don't want to fight anymore. But you could apply this to discussion, to debate, because if you go in like the other guy, going in super angry, trying to beat someone down with an argument, it's never going to win, right?
You look like a fool.
Right, exactly. So what you can do is that you can try and understand where the guy's coming from and present your ideas in a way that make that guy think. Therefore, he might come to your way of thinking without ever having an argument. That's the idea of the art of war.
You just got to you got to think of their way of understanding and try make your point in their
their terminology. That's right, yeah, for real. But yeah, I was talking about books. What about you, man? What are you reading?
I haven't read it in a long time. Last time
Come on,
read
man.
a book, it was a book about economics, like super economics.
Oh no, I've heard of that. Just heard of that.
You heard economics, you're like, no.
Just textbooks, man. Textbooks. That's
You're like,
Are you for real? Are you studying at the moment?
Yeah.
What are you studying?
I'm doing an MA in African Studies.
Oh yeah.
So far, I just read journals related to like my assignments, but that's as far as it goes. But I mean, progressively as things move on, maybe I'll get into what you're reading and whatever people recommend as good things to read.
Do you read a lot of philosophy?
I try to read as much as I can now, man. That's the good thing about the tube, man. I always read on the train. I'm going through about two books a month. It's not that fast, but I like to think.
2 books a week.
I like to really think about what I'm reading
and then digest it.
Yeah, you need to. Because the last book I read was Jordan Peterson's book, actually, 12 Rules for Life. Yeah, it's a great book, man.
Okay,
what
do you talk about? Like, a lot of people, man, they speak about Jordan Peterson so highly. Even like on my algorithms list on YouTube, like I haven't even checked one of his YouTube videos. But he just seems to be recommended. I scroll down and I scroll another page down, and he seems to be there. And he seems to be like a buzzword. He seems to be like
well, it is because
the name that just keeps popping up.
From my perspective, he's been able to articulate things that have not been talked about in society at large ever.
Okay.
He's talking about the archetypes of Carl Jung. He's talking about the representation of the deep ideas within our minds in movies, in books, in stories, and this is really appealing. Like, it's really interesting for me, it's really interesting for millions and millions of people. Nobody's ever talked to them about it before. And that's why I think he's so popular. But the book's great. You really just check it out.
Yeah, because I saw it on I saw it on the train, and you see those billboards on those adverts things. I don't know if it's billboards the right term for it.
But just the adverts on the tube.
Yeah, whatever. And when you go off the train and he's posted there.
Literally just the advert on the tube.
Whatever, man.
I don't know what you're doing.
I like
You're trying to find a specific word.
Fucking semantics.
Yeah.
So, disappointing. You're reading The Art of War. Fuck, this convo's dead. This convo's dead.
If you two have read it, then maybe you two should talk about it. Wouldn't it be appropriate?
So here's an idea for you. Let's be controversial, right? You see something that you find quite often. It seems that maybe people, the only thing that they read is a religious book.
Okay.
Do you think that's appropriate? You know what I mean? Can you get all the knowledge you need about life, all the wisdom about life? Can you get that from one book? I'd say no.
Probably not. Probably, I don't know. It depends. I mean.
Yeah, right. Right.
It came out 2000 years.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's. I mean, to be honest with you, as far as I know, right, I think it's better to read the religious book, but to read other books as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So, do you understand what I mean? I feel like it would be better to get a broad, diverse kind of viewpoint of the world or whatever, and get an open perspective. Read your religious book, but also read other books as well.
Okay,
but I mean, if we're gonna contextualize it to like the Quran or something. I haven't read the Quran in its entirety, right? But from what I believe, and this is my personal humble opinion,
right?
Read the Quran, but also read other books.
But here's an idea for you, right? Because I find many people that have read the Bible, they've read the Quran, and they seem to stop there.
Okay.
And I'm trying to read as much philosophy as I can. I've not read much, but I've read a wee bit, and it's blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, there's so many ideas out there that I don't think many people have even considered. They don't even know that the idea exists. So it's not very honest. Like,
I see what you're saying. I think it's a good recommendation to kind of course, read that if you read strongly, if you believe strongly about your faith. You know, by all means, stick to your faith,
But maybe it
but
should-
also expand as well. And I do agree with you. I do agree with you on that.
But
on that point.
is your faith only because you were brought up with it? Is your faith only because all of the people around you have it? Is your faith because you've never heard another idea?
Perhaps that's probably an explanation.
I think it's the explanation. Yeah. I mean, if somebody turns to a religion after not being brought up in it, that's more convincing for me because they had to have come to it. They had to have read it from an outsider's perspective. If you come from an insider perspective, do you really believe it?
Maybe there's some people that do believe it. Like,
Well, sure they are. Yeah.
But perhaps I'm not gonna ignore the fact that there's some people that also don't believe it. Like some people that grew up in religious families, whether they're Christian, whether they're Muslim, whatever kind of religious background, and they're not connected at all with their faith.
Right.
Maybe it's because they've been dictated. That can serve as an explanation for some people.
Distractions. Right. Okay. You mean it distracts them from thinking? Okay. Yeah. I mean, you could look at religion as part of that, but one thing to say is you could argue what's the purpose of religious belief, because many people, if you have a discussion here, they'll start to, if you say you're an atheist or something, they'll say like, oh, where do you get your morals from, where do you get your values from? So we could say that maybe people are valuing religion because it gives them a set of moral values of how to live in the world. But religions, the major world religions that we have, and major as in they have the most people, right? They're not the only way of having morality. Like ethics is a study. You can study ethics. You can sit and go and just think. Sit in a field and think, right? And say, why do I value this? Why is it important? And you'll regress. You'll go down and you'll have to make a statement of faith, basically. You'll have to say that I believe that life is more valuable than non-life. You'll have to make that jump. Otherwise, you can't say anything. You understand me? You think? They want the accountability. Why would they want that? Maybe, I don't think the camera will hear you, but... Right. So they're looking for structure. Right. Oh yeah, sure. No, of course. I think that's what it's for. It structures a society. I mean, and you could say, well, religion's not true, but I could say, what type of true? Because if it allows society to exist, if it perpetuates life, if it creates new children and has stable families and has a legal system, you could say that's true. It depends on what's true. Like, it's not so clear. So that's what I'm saying about that. You know what I mean? Do you have a religious standpoint or you have a spiritual standpoint? What are you thinking?
I mean, I'm not really thinking anything at the moment as of now, but I mean, I am a spiritual person for sure. I mean, I don't go like the meditation and stuff like that, right? But I mean, I'd say that I do pray. I don't like. I mean, like religion is you have to be required to pray 5 times a day, right? I don't always keep up with my 5 times.
Right.
In fact, like I don't really do much, to be honest with you. I do pray here and there, but to be honest, it's only when it's convenient for me.
I see.
Like if it's like for example, there's an early morning prayer, right? At 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m.
Fajr?
Yeah, Fajr prayer, right? I don't. If I'm honest,
What? How do I know? Oh, because I lived in Muslim countries. Ah.
yeah.
In North Africa. I really like the sound in the morning. The morning prayer is a mystical sound, man. Wow.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that, I had a spiritual experience, for real. It was really cool.
It's really cool. As I was saying, yeah, I think, I mean, I come at a spiritual standpoint, it's difficult to answer, but I feel like, I mean, like, yeah.
Catch you, mate.
Yeah, I do pray and stuff,
Right.
but I don't pray I don't keep up with the 5 daily prayers.
Right.
As far as I know, if you don't keep up with the 5 daily prayers, it's like you're not really a Muslim, right? So I pray, but it's only when it's convenient to me. But in terms of the spiritual kind of, how can I say? In terms of the spiritual benefits of it, it does provide me a good spiritual benefit.
What, the praying or the overall?
The praying
Right.
itself. The praying itself gives me like fulfilled spiritually. I feel
Got a question.
like when I mean yeah, go on.
No, it's related to that. So, well, I suppose you were about to answer it. Like when you pray, what's your objective or what does it give you? What's the purpose? What's the process?
Yeah,
Because I don't know what I don't want to ask because it's obviously personal. You don't need to say it. But what do you ask or what are you calling to?
No, good question. So prayers, as far as I know, it's meant to be a form of communication. You're actually communicating to God, right? And some of the verses in the Quran is actually a form of communication to your Creator, right? So it's recommended when you're praying, you have to be in your element. You have to be like literally concentrate and pray as though you're speaking to God, right? So I mean, you have to come with that intention, and coming with that intention usually requires a certain level of conviction and strong religious belief, right? Because some people, when they're praying, like I've been in prayer, I've been in mosques myself, right? And when I see people praying, they're not connected. Do you know what I'm saying? You can tell by their body
Just a
language.
process.
Yeah, and that you could argue that may be because I'm not connected. Because if I was connected, I wouldn't be noticing these things.
Right.
I wouldn't be noticing that other people aren't connected.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I guess it's a case of. It's just the praying itself is a form of communication, and I feel like it depends. If you want to get the best out of praying, you have to have a strong conviction and religious belief. Okay. And I feel like, if I'm honest with you, my conviction, my religious belief is not strong at all. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm praying, but when I'm praying, it's not. I mean, yeah, okay, I could be saying, yeah, I'm praying because I'm doing it to communicate with God, right? That's the answer you should give.
But
right?
what do you talk about? What do you ask? What do you talk to her about?
I guess what do you talk about? You don't really talk about anything, not anything. Like not how there's not like much flexibility involved. Like it's not like I can talk to you and then we can jump to a different conversation like football. It has to be structured. It has to be everything that you're communicating with God has to be recognized, and that has to be recognized through religious kind of scriptures in the Quran. Do you understand? Okay. So through the surahs in the Quran, you have to use those surahs in the Quran as a form of communication when you're praying to God.
So you use them to set it up, or you only say that? Like I just don't know the process, right?
Of course,
so because can you communicate with whatever you want, or do you have to start it with a phrase, or like I don't understand? Like you have to use bits from the surah you said.
Yeah.
Why? Is that all you say, or?
Why do you say that? To be honest with you, that's something I haven't tapped into. I haven't really thought about it, because this is literally something that you're tapping into something that I haven't really thought about.
Okay,
it's good. It's good.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like for me, it's as far as I know it, right? And perhaps I'm not the best one to speak to.
Nah, forget about that. I'm not trying to quiz you on Islam.
No problem.
I'm only kidding about what you think.
I get that, and I just feel like for me, as far as I know it, when you're praying, you're communicating with God, right? And of course, in your communication with God is contingent upon some of the verses in the Quran. It has to be among the verses in the Quran. It's not like I can communicate. When you're opening a prayer, the prayer itself, just focus on the prayer, literally focus on the prayer. The prayer itself has to be based on a form of communication which is contingent upon the verses that's recited upon the Quran. After, of course, you pray, then of course you communicate to God however you see fit. Okay. Right? You can, if you wish or seek something in a form of a wish, let's just say a wish, but in Arabic I think they call it du'as, right?
Right.
You can seek something. So after you complete your prayers, or even if it's not even after you complete, it doesn't have to be immediately after you complete your prayers. It could be just, right now, I'm not praying right now, but after I have this conversation with you, I could seek something from God. I could say, okay, God, can you grant me this?
Right.
God, can you grant me that?
Okay.
Or whatever it is that you desire, so which so you preferably desire.
Interesting.
So there are multiple ways of communicating with God. So the main one, if you focus on praying, it's more like verses from the Quran. If you wanna, but also there are other ways as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, like I said, I'm not trying to quiz you on Islam. I only care about. We've talked a lot. I only care about what you think. That's the interesting thing for me. So let me give you a way of looking at it that came to me while you were speaking. Really interesting thing is there's a psychological technique that is maybe analogous to somewhat prayer. Is when if you have a problem in your life, or if you have a psychological problem that you want to fix, or you need a solution to something in life, like maybe you're in a job you don't like and you want to change, you want to leave, but you can't get the courage to do it, or whether you're not sure if you're in a relationship, you're not sure if the person is right for you, something like this, and you're really stuck.
Yeah,
you're having or an existential crisis for that matter. there's a psychological method that has been developed. I only heard about it through Carl Jung, but there's other methods. Is where you get to a position where you honestly ask yourself internally. You ask yourself like there's a separate part of you, because there almost is the conscience. You understand? This conscience can give you it can have a different voice in your head. Not voice, but it can give you a different feeling. Like if you want to do something, one part of you is saying yeah, other part of you is like, bro, why? You understand? You've got two parts of you. Socrates called it his daemon. It's not demon, he called it his conscience, right? It was the part of him telling him when he was lying, when he was saying something he didn't believe. It was like, bro, you don't fucking believe that, don't say it. That part, to me, this seems kind of similar. It seems similar to this idea of, well, God, for example, is that you may be asking yourself honestly, internally, to some deeper source of wisdom, maybe not necessarily in you, but connected to something, and you're asking for answers, you're asking for guidance towards a goal, you know? I don't remember the term for this, but it seems similar to prayer.
Okay.
You understand me?
Yeah.
Another thing before we talk more, there's a book that I read recently called The Archetype of oh crap, I forgot it now. It's The Archetype of Sacred Spaces. Initiation. That's it. The Archetype of Initiation. That's the name of the book. And it talks about initiations, about going from childhood to adulthood, and the archetypes here. But it talks specifically about sacred space, about an area that you create, and you give it rules, you give it boundaries, and it allows for transformation. This is like the mosque or the church. In these places, it has you have to take your shoes off, right?
Yeah.
You have the prayer mats,
Yeah.
you have the motions, you have the actions, you have the people. And for example, people swearing or doing bad things, this is forbidden in the mosque, right? I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's not etiquette, not good etiquette.
Right, but it has distinct rules, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, I mean, it should, from my understanding of
Yeah.
what sacred spaces should be.
Yeah.
And this allows you to create a space where you can connect to something that's outside of the normal world. It's called the profane in the terminology. We call this world the profane world, where things are messy. And then you've got the ordered world of sacred space.
Yes.
Now, here's another example for you. For example, if you wanted to start writing music or writing a book or something, you might create a little ritual for yourself. You'd sit in the same place, you'd get the same drink, you'd do it at the same time of day to put yourself in the mind state where you can focus.
Yeah,
You understand me?
That's what you're saying.
It's similar, it seems. And I was thinking about this earlier today. Speaker's Corner is a sacred space. It has people come here and talk openly and honestly about things that they wouldn't out there. And it has a boundary, it has rules, it has etiquette, it has things that people support, it has things when people do them, they force them out. Very interesting. Yeah. This is a special place that's been created.
A safe space.
No, not safe space.
Safe space to success.
Safe space is unfortunately a term that's been co-opted to be used by people who don't want to hear opinions they don't like. This is definitely not a safe space. People get offended here all the time and punch people and shit. It's not it.
As in, I'm saying safe space as in you have the ability to express yourself in any way you can.
Okay.
Compared to outdoor. Like,
right.
For example, there's various times it's been mentioned in this park. For example, nigger's been you can't use that outdoor.
Right, that's right. I understand you.
Yeah.
So a sacred space, a place that's allowed because it has a boundary, because it has rules, it allows it to exist independently. And I would say this is the same for religious buildings, for temples, mosques, and churches. You create a sacred space that allows you to connect to an idea that's beyond this realm. I think that's the purpose of it, you know?
Okay.
What do you think?
No, man, you like mind-blowing stuff, man. Mind-blowing stuff, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, really deep stuff, man. But for me, it's like, I mean, perhaps maybe like, going into religious spaces and stuff, it's not something I really think about. Like, I go in there, for me, it's like, okay, you know, I mean, I don't go to mosque often, to be honest with you. When I'm praying at home. But when I'm praying in a mosque, it's just like, okay, I see a group of people, I see a group of men. I just go there, I pray. And I maybe see a few interactions through the corner of my eye, but above that, I don't really think at a higher level beyond that. Do you know what I'm saying? For me, it's more at a very simple level. Kind of like I don't know how to say it. It's like a kind of, you go there, you pray like a routine level.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Routine.
But do you do it as a routine? Because you said you do it rarely.
Yeah. I mean, like, when I pray, it's kind of become sort of as a routine because it's something that I've been able to keep consistent for quite a few years. Although I don't keep up with all my prayers, But it's kind of come as a routine. But in the sense, okay, I'm at home. Okay, 'cause if you think about it, prayer is a routine in the sense that it's always at a fixed time. So at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, in the summer period, summer kind of is maybe 3 or 4 months, right? So for that summer, there's a specific routine.
Yeah.
Prayer is usually around 6 o'clock. So it kind of, at that point, it then becomes kind of a routine. Okay, it's 6:30 now, I have to pray Asr. It's 6:35, I have to pray Asr. So
Okay.
it becomes a routine. But, I mean, it's when you're praying, like, and you're going to the mosque, that's all it kind of, from my idea, that's all it seems to be, like, a routine. But of course everyone has their specific motivations, right? For me, when I'm praying, it's not just I'm doing a routine as though I'm doing it because I'm supposed to do it. Routine in the sense that, okay, it's routine, but there's motivations behind this routine and why I'm doing it. Oh, I'm doing it because I want to become more in touch with my spiritual side.
That's why you do it, right? Because
Yeah.
that was going to be my question.
Yeah.
What value do you gain by this?
I feel like, to be honest with you, it's more kind of a more spiritual kind of benefit it brings to me.
But how? In
How?
what way? This is the interesting
Good
part.
question.
What's happening?
It's a good question. I feel like for me, and this might sound silly, but I'm
what?
going to say it anyway, it's a case of like, for example, you know, sometimes, you know, up to a certain point, so say from, I've just prayed my first prayer of the day, which is at maybe 1 o'clock or 1:30, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe I'm at home and I'm watching some TV shows, right? Up until 3:30. At that point, I'm starting to becoming a little bit tired of watching the TV show. So I think, okay, you know what, I want to pray. So I pray and I come back, I finish my prayer, and then all of a sudden it gives me this kind of energy again to be able to resume watching what it might sound silly.
I thought it was going to be something
No,
better.
it's silly, but to be honest with you, the effect that it has on me is not. It might be silly saying it,
Rejuvenation.
but the effect they're saying it is not silly. It has more than just it's a rejuvenating thing.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I feel more, you know, oh wow, you know, I feel like fresh.
Okay. Yeah, it
So
does.
in that sense, it's more kind of a spiritual freshness, like, if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I understand.
Abstract way of putting it, but yeah.
No, I understand. For real, there might be
So
going to be some truth to that. For real.
Because I'm only saying that because, you know, the idea of like, it's that when you're kind of making more your ablution, right? It's more than just. I mean, it could be coined as a shower, right? By you know, someone who's perhaps not familiar with this sort of thing, right? But it's the impact it has. So you're doing your ablution and then you're going to pray. And when I'm praying, it's like there's things that enter my mind. It gives me a clarity. It makes me, for example, if I'm having any kind of, and that's another thing I forgot to mention as well. If I have sort of some kind of issues or something, whatever it is, minor issues or whatever it may be, and I'm praying and I've done my ablution, right? There's certain things, it just gives me like clarity on able to, like, my thoughts become more organized, right?
That's it.
And I feel like that in its, and certain, there's not just that, but certain memorable experiences, some certain things from my memory that's maybe lapsed in recent years, may have returned during that prayer
Like
moment.
a flashback.
Flashback, exactly.
Interesting.
So
you
it's
get
like
that in a flow state.
a flow state.
And more or less, if you're in a state of mind where you become more receptive to your subconscious, you can get flashbacks from previous experiences. Not necessarily in a bad way.
Of course, it's not. I'm not saying it's specifically caused by praying. I mean, like you said, there's multiple ways of achieving
right.
this, right? But from my experience, I feel like praying has enabled that for me. I mean, maybe it's just the case, maybe it's happened before when I wasn't praying and I just didn't realize.
Right.
But maybe it's become more salient now as I pray. Like, these are things that's entered my mind, and perhaps maybe my awareness of it has maybe perpetuated the fact that I'm continuing to pray.
Yeah, true.
Yes, there's benefits to praying. Things have entered my mind, and that in itself has become a motivational thing to continue praying. So, I mean, to be honest with you, if I'm being completely honest, my praying is linked somewhat to my religious belief, in the sense that, if I don't pray, there are repercussions.
And then we can talk about that.
There are repercussions in the sense that, okay, if I don't pray, praying is part of faith, right? If I'm not praying, I know there's gonna be trouble for me, like, you know what I mean? There's gonna be repercussions. That in itself can trigger some type of anxieties within myself. That's like, okay,
so
I've got to pray. And also, so on top of that, there's a spiritual kind of benefit as well.
It's good that you're honest about that, man, because often people only talk about one side.
No, I'm honest.
So that gives me a problem, right? Because
Okay, sure.
when I look at this, I see the analogy I was trying to give you with the psychological questioning, the flow state, coming in a peaceful state of mind to refresh yourself, rejuvenation.
Yeah,
I was tying this to the idea of sacred space, mosques, churches, religious spaces, and prayer.
Yeah, of course.
All of those things to me, beneficial, helps you, makes you focused. Just a second. But now we have another side of it. We have the anxiety. If I don't, there'll be punishment.
Yeah,
Now, for me, this doesn't seem like it needs to. I don't see why that is a necessity, right? Because it seemed to me that you can have all of the benefits of what I described without needing to have the punishment anxiety if you don't follow what is being prescribed to you. You understand? Like, why does it need to be like that? Why would it be just to punish somebody for not doing that? I mean, these are difficult questions.
No. It is a very difficult question, right? And honestly, I don't have the answer to that. To be honest with you, it's something I don't have the answer to. It's something I haven't really. I mean, maybe I thought about it, but it's something that I didn't want to kind of acknowledge to things out of maybe fear. So it's something that, if I'm honest, it's something. Okay, you know what? It's just something that I can't explain. It's touching into some kind of difficult areas, maybe slightly uncomfortable as well, being Muslim myself. These conversations perhaps may not occur. So, but it doesn't, the thing is, it's just like, sort of acknowledging it requires, it can be conflated as sort of a challenge as well.
Right.
Understand? And it's something that you don't want, these are areas that can be difficult to touch onto. So it's like, if you're asking these questions, okay, you know what? Why is it that a sort of punishment has to occur? Why do these things have to occur? It's sort of, it can be, I mean, misconstrued in some circles as, you know, are you posing some kind of challenge? Do you understand?
But what, should you not challenge it?
I mean, I don't know. It depends. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know the answer.
No, it's fine. I don't expect you to answer these questions. They're just ideas.
No, it's difficult to answer.
But what I want to emphasize, it doesn't eliminate the value of prayer. Like, for example, if you get benefit from that, it just, the thing for me that irks me, so to speak, is that people think that they have to do it, or it'll be bad if they don't. Why could it not just be appreciated for something good that it does? You can?
Yeah, but then again, to counter that argument, it is sort of appreciated, like, you fulfill those kinds of requirements, you do your prayers and stuff, there is a reward. So that reward in itself is kind of like an acknowledgement and appreciation that you did your bit, you did what was required of you. At the same time, if you don't pray your 5 daily prayers, like myself as of this moment right now, then there is a price to pay. That price to pay, whether you could fall into the afterlife.
Do you think it's a real price to pay?
Do I think it's a real
Or do you think it's like a metaphorical representation of, if you don't follow the things you should follow in this world will be worse?
I guess so. I mean,
it could be both.
It could be both. Can I just finish this point? Finish this point. I feel like for me it could be that like from your point of view you could be correct, and that's fine.
Well, I'm not trying to be correct. Just an idea.
No. I'm just saying, and it could be that I'm wrong. But for me, the fear in itself is very overwhelming. The fear and anxiety itself is very overwhelming. When I hear the punishment itself, it's very graphic, and it's something that, to be honest, it causes me a lot of anxiety. I mean, if I'm honest with you, like, death itself is not something that I fear.
The punishment is.
I'm not scared of death. Like, to be honest with you, like, if someone kills me, it's not something that I'm totally afraid of. Like, I'm not afraid of death itself. But it's like, okay, what's gonna happen after death? Do you know what I'm saying? If so, in the sense, like, it's like praying and doing all these obligations gives me that security where it's like, okay, you know what? If death, I don't feel that anxiety over death. But if I don't do these obligations where it's
then you will.
Then there is anxiety in the sense that, okay, you know what, I could literally, if I get into a fight or something, that escalates and whatever, especially in this ongoing knife climate, and someone
it's a mess, man.
shanks me, I could be going to hell. And when I've heard the stories about that,
the stories of hell.
Yeah, man, it gives me quite anxiety.
Humans have made hell on earth, man. I'm reading the Gulag Archipelago at the moment. You heard of that?
No.
It's a story. Well, it's the true story It's the history of the Russian death camps of the Soviet Union. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Fucking terrifying book, man. Terrifying, man. That shit doesn't make you cry openly in the street while you're listening to it walking down the road. You got no soul, man. It's terrible. We have a question.
Yeah, so you said, why can't you appreciate prayer? Why is it you have to do it?
It wasn't that. It was that. Why is the negative aspect a necessity? Because he says he feels that anxiety that if he doesn't pray, he'll be punished. Why am I saying why should it not only be the good thing? Why does it need to be a negative?
So I believe is that prayer is a connection with God. We speaking to God. And I usually give a metaphor. I'm not saying the best one. The metaphor that I like to give is like me speaking to my friends. If I decide not to talk to them at all, and then one day come to their place, for them to assume to open the door for me, as if we're still friends. Let's say I haven't spoken to them for 4 years, and that's the same as me not praying for 4 years, and then I once die and expect to go to heaven. The same goes for me not talking to friends for 4 years, and then expecting to still be friends.
I understand.
It's the connection with God, you speaking to God, and it's only 5 times a day. So I'm not saying I'm the best person. All I'm saying is if you don't speak to your Creator, just like if you don't speak to your friends, you can't expect them to.
Something else that comes to mind when we talk about this is I suppose it's a bit cliche now, but is that why do things need to be motivated by punishment and reward? Because these things to me are a necessity in a slave-master relationship, and maybe that's how you view the creator of you that you have. But for me, I don't think for me personally, it's not I don't feel it's appropriate for my way I understand humans. I don't think that we should be under the yoke of some controlling creature. I think.
If there's no punishment, then people will be stealing.
Well, they do.
Yeah, but even then there's a punishment, and let's say there would be no punishment at all for nothing, then everyone would be stealing. There's no punishment at all.
It's not actually.
Humans that work like
It's
that.
not actually true though. I mean, people don't commit massive crimes all the time just because of the punishment. People have an innate sense that they don't want to harm others. A lot of people. It's not necessarily about because there's a punishment.
Okay, they won't commit the evil crime, but they probably will steal something small because there's no real punishment. So it starts with something small and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Punishment is not there to kind of, I don't even know what to say. Punishment is there to make you better, to stop you from doing the bad things. You can see it 2 ways, but I see it as stopping me to do the bad things rather than punishing me to become good.
All right. Well, I see. But the way I look at it, these things these days is that if you have to force somebody to do something, is it still morality?
It's not forced,
You know?
it's your choice. You have free will. But if you choose not to do it, of course there will be punishment.
Alright.
If I choose to steal, then I have to expect to get punished.
Anyway, so I had another point for you. You see how you were saying that you have the anxiety because you've heard the stories of hell about if you don't pray and etc. But you also experience the peace and benefit of prayer. Now here's an idea for you that might be a curveball. Would it not have been better to have never been told the stories of heaven and hell? Because then you wouldn't have that death anxiety. Maybe you'd have death anxiety, but you wouldn't have hell anxiety.
The thing is, I would say to respond to that question, I would say it's not something that anxiety itself is situated specifically to death. It's not something that's something that's taken over my whole life and it's consumed me to the point where I haven't been able to live.
Oh, sure, but it's still a factor.
To some extent, maybe, I don't know, maybe you could say it's maybe impacted on my decision making somewhat, perhaps. Maybe I don't realize it, perhaps. I would say, I don't know, I really don't know to that question, but if you're asking me, would I have been better off not knowing that? I really don't know that, man. I really don't know, because at the same time, if I acknowledge that faith is 100% correct, and despite the fact that I've been told this, right, and that might be true, and then in the afterlife that actually manifests itself, then I can say to myself, actually, no, I'm really grateful that, this is what really happened to me. I'm really grateful that's what I've been told.
Right.
I guess for me, it's like, well, to answer that question, I can't really answer it right now. In this particular life, it's something. It's something that is something that is a part of the afterlife. Do you understand?
Right.
I'm thinking more on the afterlife, more like that answer will depend on the afterlife.
Isn't it,
I really don't know that.
Isn't it interesting, the idea that we have so much philosophy or theology that's been developed talking about something that we have no experience of? Isn't it interesting?
Say that again, sorry?
Right. I'm saying we have so many philosophies and like theological ideas about something that nobody's actually experienced. Because, well, for example, dying, going to the afterlife, coming back and telling people about it. This hasn't happened really, right? So isn't it, because it's an idea that we come up with the philosophy, so we're imagining a possibility of something that we have no evidence on at all. It's like, because there's different ideas. People say it's a necessity to have an afterlife because then people can tolerate the suffering of the world. Also, it's a necessity to have a hell because then when people do wrong things here in the world or do bad things to you, you can be like, well, God's going to punish them because maybe you live a terrible life and people fuck with you and you can't stop them, and then you're like, well, God's going to sort you out. I think that's a necessity for psychological health.
No, I definitely see your point. I do see your point. It's difficult to measure this. It's difficult to measure this because you can't really kind of have an interview with someone who's just been in the afterlife to actually measure if what he's experienced is actually true, right? So it's something that's, again, like, it's just a case of faith, literally faith. It's not something that you can actually reason with. And I think I had this conversation, maybe a couple months ago actually. I was actually having this conversation with someone else, right? And I was actually being critical of certain kinds of viewpoints amongst some Muslims.
Okay.
And I was thinking to myself actually how, if I can remember how, there's a lack of open-mindedness. I remember saying that. I remember saying that actually. And she was saying to me how, because if I'm honest with you, there were certain things I was being critical as well within my own religion. And I was saying, actually, there's certain things that just don't kind of make sense. And I was saying that, and I remember saying that. And she was saying how, actually, I can't remember the specific details, but she was saying how, there's certain things that you can't reason. It's just a case of faith.
Right.
It's just a leap of faith.
Well, I think it's necessary in all philosophy.
Yeah, and it was just a case of me trying to reason myself too much. How certain things within the scripture exist, and I was trying to say, actually, this don't make sense,
Right.
or why is it happening, etc. And I was just, when I was looking at it from a rational kind of viewpoint, this don't really make sense, etc. Right? And then, she was saying how the same thing also applies to a Christian faith as well. And she wasn't really Christian herself, right? Strong in her faith. Likewise, I wasn't really strong in my faith. But she was saying how this is, it's just a case of faith. You just have to have that faith. Whether or not it may or may not make sense to another person is a different matter. But it's just a case of you've been told this, and it's just a case of you just have to have that faith that is true. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
And if you try to perhaps rationalize it, it might not be the kind of the best way. I don't know.
It might not be how it's meant to be understood.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. Paradoxically. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Good. I have more questions for you if you're alright. If we were talking about philosophy. So, here's an idea for you. Have you heard of Albert Camus?
Albert Camus, no.
A French philosopher back in the day, I think in the 1970s. There's a book he wrote, The Myth of Sisyphus. I can barely say it. It's a Greek name. But anyway, so what I've been reading recently is an idea that's fascinating because it's something I've been experiencing, is an idea of absurdity. Right? So when you become aware of being aware, and I get this very often, man, daily, and it's a good feeling. For me, it's not nihilistic at all. It's like an unbelievable wonder. It's how can I be aware? It's such a strange feeling. I can't give it to you. It's annoying. But it's like a feeling rising up from behind you. You kind of feel like you're looking down, not just upon you, but upon existence. And you feel like you know that this is not all there is. It's such a strange feeling. But I've had out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences before. I don't know if I talked to you about that before.
Briefly.
Some crazy-ass stuff, man. But this is daily.
Okay. Yeah, no. I just wanted to pick up on the point where you're saying, like, this awareness that you speak about, being aware of the fact that you're aware.
Yeah. It's
And
like a boop, 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 like this.
everything else
Oh.
that, knowing that, like, expand on that a little bit more.
Okay,
I'm curious,
it's
curious.
really hard to describe, but it's so you become aware of your predicament. You realize that you're in a universe that you don't understand. You realize, at least you think you realize, that you've got an awareness and you've got a voice in your head that you're thinking and speaking, right? That's you, you say it's you. And you don't know what you are. You don't actually know what you're made of. You don't know where you're from. You don't really know what history is. You can't verify if anything is actually real. And you're in such an absurd reality because, I mean, as a biologist, I study biology, but anyone can study science, right? And you look at the incredible complexity of the universe, of the cell, and then you go into quantum physics and quantum reality. It's not logical. What's going on? Things break down. And you realize you're in this game and you can't get out of it. And you think that you will reach a death, but you don't actually know because you've never died. You understand? The idea of death is always abstract because you've never died.
Yeah.
But it's something that we view as a finite position. It will happen. We will die, and then we don't know what happens. But you don't know what you are right now, and you don't know where you came from. I'm trying to give you it just by blasting things at you, but it's an awareness of being aware, and you come to this realization that reality is absurd. None of it makes sense. It's fucking crazy. But for me, it's an awesome feeling because it's so much wonder. There's so much to try and understand, so much to experience. And then you come back into reality, and Camus was talking about the same thing. He said, when you come to the realization that reality is absurd, you're faced with a predicament of, is it worth continuing life? Should you, and he said you have physical suicide, philosophical suicide, or the rebellion against the absurd. You understand? You understand me, maybe? I really recommend Camus, man. Fascinating, because he's not nihilistic. He comes to the conclusion, somewhat of a conclusion of that. Maybe I'm going to be saying it wrong because I'm not an expert and I've just read it recently. Is that if you realize that things are absurd, then it takes extreme character, extreme courage to handle that reality, understand that you don't know anything, that maybe you'll never know the meaning of anything, and move forward and experience life. It's the rebellion. It's the rebel. You realize that everything is insane, but instead of killing yourself, you're like, no, I'm going to live as freely as possible. It's such an expanding way of thinking. And there was a really nice quotation from Camus. He said that, don't follow me because I cannot lead. Don't lead me because I cannot follow. Walk beside me and be my friend. It's something like that. Instead of trying to follow, instead of trying to be leaders, instead of trying to be slaves, you should all try and exist in the world as peacefully as you can because nobody knows what's going on. That's it.
So it's like, I mean, I probably haven't summarized it at all, but what you're speaking is just something that's just like, wow.
You haven't read it yet, yeah.
No. But is it like kind of like, I guess, a small part of what you're saying, just a small part? Is it like kind of like absorbing everything that comes in your way? I mean, it's just a small part of it. Like,
possibly.
like kind of like absorbing everything, taking it in, and then absorbing something else, taking it in. Just constantly absorbing things. I don't know. I can't relate because it's something that.
Okay, so that I'm not sure how to maybe, but anyway, let's contrast that to what we were saying about religion there, because this is a philosophical idea that you can have the experience, like you can have this experience, this existential crisis, I suppose, of the absurdity. But then you could also supposedly counter that with saying, well, people can have religious experiences, spiritual experiences that seem to be in line with their religion, and that's also true. Like you can feel the presence of God or something like that. You know what I mean? But we don't know what we're feeling. We don't know what we're experiencing. We have an inclination that makes us think that there's something beyond this reality. At least some of us do. And it's a fascinating feeling. Because of the experiences that I've had, I think that there's more levels to this reality than we can understand. I mean, if you look at the complexity, to say that this is the only plane, seems ridiculous. I think there's more. But I mean, who knows what it is? I don't.
Yeah, nice.
It opens the possibilities, man.
It is mad. I mean, like, when you think about it like that, right? Because sometimes you get through your daily life, right? And everything just seems kind of mundane, right? But then when you take, for example, right, I'm going to go into something a little bit controversial, right? When you take, drugs, for instance, right? It's class A, class B, class C, like, for example, take weed or LSD or something, like, your reality completely changes. And I've only read stuff about it, yeah. But some of the stuff, some of the stuff out there, reality is constructed, it's just mad. Like literally snakeheads appear. This and that.
Oh yeah.
It's mad.
Well, have you heard about the experiences with DMT?
No.
Well, this is a chemical that they say is naturally produced in the brain, and it's meant to be released on the point of death or near death. And this is meant to be what I experienced in the hospital there. I had a near-death experience, man, and it's meant to be the things you've heard about, like psychedelic trips.
Yeah, psychedelic.
I basically had that, and it was incredible. As soon as I came back out of it, and when I was able to compose myself, I wrote it down. I got paper and pen and wrote it down as soon as I could. It was a mind-blowing experience. But
it somehow.
But it changed the way I think about everything. It wasn't superficial at all, man. It was incredible. So you can induce those by taking certain drugs. Whether you should or not, I'm not sure.
No, I hear your point. No, man, there is different levels to reality, man.
The issue with this is that when you go down that path, when you go down this path of questioning everything, which is why I advocate, it will make you question your religious beliefs at least to some degree. Because what might happen is your beliefs might evolve. They might have to evolve, you know? Your understanding of what you thought was literally true maybe become metaphorically true. True in a different sense. Because I'm definitely not following the atheist line of thought, because it seems as absolute as religious view. You know, say there absolutely is, there absolutely isn't. It doesn't seem honest.
Mate, you're right. I just want to come into a conversation. You know, I just want to know what you're talking about.
Oh, sure.
What is it?
Spiritual experiences. We're talking about different things, man. Like
Philosophy.
Philosophy, yeah. Alright.
Yeah, some big stuff, man. Some really deep stuff, man. Interesting.
Man, if I have an outlook on what's life? That's a good question, mate.
Nobody knows.
I want to carry on the conversation. So
sure.
if I feel like I destroyed the whole.
No. We were having natural pauses because it's kind of it's kind of difficult topic.
What's life? What's life?
No, this is like.
What's your name, by the way?
William. And you?
My name's Kate.
Nice to meet you, mate.
Alright, William. What's life? I just always wanted to start like, what's life?
It's the classic questions, man. We don't know why we're here.
What's life? What's life? In your perspective, I want to see like your heart. Was it part of we put religion and politics to our side? Whatever, what's the essence of life right now?
What we here? What we in this world?
No, just the essence.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems. I mean, I can't give you a good answer, but to experience, to explore, to understand. Maybe that, because that's what we have a natural drive to. Why does this work?
Beings.
Yeah. Like, why does this work? How is it like that? Why do I think this? You know. So maybe it's that. Are we signed? We're finished it there?
Yeah,
let's finish it there.
William, nice to meet you. Yeah?
Sorry
about that.
No, don't worry. We're done anyway.
No, you tapped into some things, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can see you next week.
Next time we speak, man, and we're good. Let's see. See you later.
Content over everything. From your Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
So brothers and sisters, we must build partners and group collective, finance group collective organisations. And that's the only way we can move forward. These group collective organisations, it's not necessary that we feel like, oh, we must trust this or trust that. Transparency is easy because of technology.